3, 2, 1.
Please stand by for further details. We return you now to your regularly scheduled program.
Hello to those of you who are feeling called to this reading in particular, mystery reading number 1070. My name is Elizabeth, and before getting into this reading, if you are a recurring viewer, you enjoy my work, and you would like to help support it, feel free to do so by sticking around and hitting that subscribe button down below, and ringing the notification bell next to it if you feel called to. And if you do feel called to subscribe and stick around, welcome. And thank you very much for your support, as well as your presence during this reading. So I usually start with interpreting the number of the video, in this case 1070, but there's quite a few things I want to talk about before I do that. Well, in a lot of readings I talk about something or things before I get into the numbers, but the first thing that I want to talk about is I saw the number 122 on the timer right when I started talking. After the silence. And that number is a sign about how, or a message about how change starts with you. Maybe it is a sign in a way that is confirmation for somebody who feels called to be the change they wish to see in a certain specific way, or just in general. The other thing I want to talk about is seeing the number 222 before I started recording this video at all. And I just looked down at the timer, it was 2 minutes 23 seconds. It was almost 222. But this number can be about many things. As you are watching or listening to this reading, if there's any significant person or people or situation that pops into your mind, chances are that's what this reading is about. A significant relationship or situation on your mind. This number can also be about your choices and prioritizing what means the most to you. Make sure your choices align with who you truly are. And don't be afraid to question your own motives, your own intentions. The last message that can come from the number 2 for me is about creating peace and balance within yourself, and in whatever way you need to. It can be about just finding peace. So only take that if it resonates. For some reason I wanted to say finding pieces. Maybe pieces of a puzzle, pieces of a chess set. Only take that if it resonates in some way or another. I just saw the number 345 on the timer, which is about trusting that everything happens for a reason. The last thing I want to talk about is this card here that says, song lyrics, you make me feel invincible. Earthquake powerful. The song Feel Invincible by Skillet. We have the number 23 down here. 2 plus 3 is 5. 5 is about change. Transformation, more confirmation for whoever feels called to be the change that they wish to see. Or it could just be confirmation of changes that you're already going through, or just feel called to initiate for any reason. The number 555 could be significant as well. I'm just going to set this card off to the side. I might add it to this reading once I start using these cards, but we'll see what happens. Getting into interpreting the number 1070 now. The number 1 is about trusting yourself and believing in yourself. Listen to your intuition, your inner voice, what it's saying to you, where it's trying to guide you, and trust it. And if you feel like you aren't able to discern between your intuition and your fears, what I personally find helpful is recognizing that your fear is loud and it makes you feel safe or unsafe. in some contexts at least. And your intuition is quiet, and it makes you feel confident. I feel like that's the big difference between your intuition and your fear. Your intuition makes you feel confident, while your fear makes you lack confidence. Or it doesn't inspire you to be more confident. And I just saw the number 543 on the timer, another sign to trust that everything happens for a reason. There are 2 zeros in number 1070, and there are a couple of ways that this number can be interpreted if you don't know it already. The first way is recurring patterns or themes in the form of signs, messages, spiritual communication, or you're just in your own experiences. There's certain patterns or themes that you may need to pay attention to within yourself or outside of yourself. The other way that I interpret this number 0 is knowing when to put yourself first and when to choose yourself, self-love and self-care over self-hate, self-destruction. Especially when it comes to your needs, you don't need to feel bad or guilty for putting yourself first. The only thing you'd be guilty of is having self-respect. That's what I have to say about that. The last number, the number 7, is about wisdom, expanding your awareness and your consciousness and finding deeper meaning. We have seen a couple of signs about trusting that everything happens for a reason, and it feels like this number 7, with the interpretation of deeper meaning, you may need to explore deeper within yourself or in a situation to find the spiritual meaning. Whether you define it for yourself, it's revealed to you, or you just have to trust that it's there. Sometimes it's okay to not know what the reason is, but to trust that it's there anyway. I guess it really depends on where you think the universe is headed, or what your beliefs are about the universe. It's easier to trust that everything happens for a reason when you do believe in a higher power. I'm actually being reminded of this page that I read from this little booklet called Our Daily Bread. I think it's more for the Christian faith. I personally don't identify as Christian, but I do like exploring other religions. What I read, it had something to do with about I don't know, you hear people talk about God's plan. It didn't exactly say that, but basically the overall feeling it gave was understanding that there is something much, much bigger at play here, and you and your story is just one moving part. You have to be able to understand external influences that are bigger than you and how they're contributing to something much greater than you. And I suppose you don't have to be religious to see that. It's worth recognizing nonetheless. So don't be hard on yourself for forces outside of your control, and don't blame the universe for human free will. We do have our own power, and we have to hold ourselves accountable for how we use it. And I feel that being hard on yourself, evil toward yourself, treating yourself wrong when you know you shouldn't be, I feel like that's misusing your power, or us collectively misusing our power if we all did it. So be wise with how you speak to yourself and how you treat yourself. And don't just be willing to ignore the respect, the love, the care, the protection, the nurturing that you deserve to have for yourself. Don't forget as well that the relationship with yourself defines the kind of relationships that you attract, the kind of situations. If you want more honest relationships and situations in your life, it feels like you gotta be patient, but also, make sure that along the way You're being honest with yourself. You're not lying to yourself, getting caught up in the unknown and assuming the worst. It may be important for somebody here to have an open mind, to think critically. Maybe there's something here that is blinding you. It could be a distraction of some sort, blinding you in a way that is distracting you from something that you're working hard on, really trying to commit to. Let's go ahead and add up these numbers. I just saw the number 111 on the timer because I am recording the second portion of this video, because I can only record videos 10 minutes at a time, unfortunately. And that number is about trusting yourself, as we already said with the number 1. Trust yourself and believe in yourself. Believe in your ability to be aware and become more aware. You know, this is an interesting message, but don't ever feel like you have to stay trapped in, you know, your own ignorance or the unknown. I know it can be easy to assume the worst, but sometimes what's easy isn't what you deserve. You do deserve to have an open mind. But adding up these numbers now, 1 plus 0 is 1, plus 7 is 8, plus 0, it's still 8, which is about lost, and trusting that whatever is lost will be replaced, especially if you are feeling driven by a sense of purpose and feeling called to be the change you wish to see. When you transform as a person for the better, your reality is going to transform for the better. So if you're losing relationships or certain things and it's painful, just know that the sacrifice is worth it. And it's not going to be like this forever, and these things will be replaced. You will be surrounded by people who will treat you better and love you better. There could be a warning here, though, for somebody to, know when to protect yourself. Don't be afraid to have your guard up. Pay attention to red flags and consistencies, because you don't want to be lured or trapped in a situation where you're more vulnerable than you may already feel. Yeah. Is there anything else that I get from the number 8? No? I think that's it. Moving into the cards that are on the table now, we have the Nightmare Before Christmas Tarot. These are a box of cards that I made myself, and this is the Ancestor Spirit Oracle. I'm going to start with drawing out a card here from, well, now I'm feeling called to use the Magical Dogs Tarot. Let me switch decks real quick. I'm going to use these tarot cards to just draw out one of these to get more detail about what you need to hear, what needs to be talked about, especially in relation to the number 1070. Yeah. This one really does make a lot of sense. This is what the Magical Dogs Tarot looks like, by the way. And the card that I have pulled is the Sun. There may be a significant Egyptian god for you, the Egyptian sun god. This Sun card has the number, I believe the number 19 on it. Yeah. 4, 5, 6. Another sign and trust that everything happens for a reason. The number 19, 1 plus 9 is 10. And there are 2 messages with this number. The number 10 itself is a reminder or confirmation that your spirit guides, especially your ancestors here, are present. Whether you are aware of it or not, they're ready to support you whenever you're ready to be supported. The other message is a more specific message from your spirit guides to trust yourself. You might be really feeling inspired, or at least drawn to having a deeper connection with your intuition. I just saw the number 543. So many signs here to trust everything happens for a reason. You are feeling called to connect more with your intuition for a reason. You deserve to trust yourself more, believe in yourself more, and have more confidence in yourself, where you are, and where you want to go in life. The Sun card in general, I get a couple of interpretations from it. The first one is having a more optimistic outlook, and that feels very relevant for this reading, given how much we've talked about having an open mind. I've been saying it in readings lately that choosing to live life in optimism versus pessimism is like choosing to live life being okay with disappointed or living in fear. Whether it's the fear of disappointment or just other fears that are created because of this fear of disappointment. Or it doesn't even have to be fears related to the fear of disappointment, but it can only be one of two ways. And someone here might need to make a conscious choice to allow themselves to be disappointed in life, or to even be scared, to be human. Give yourself permission to hope, to wish, to dream, and to change your mind, too. Another way that I interpret the Sun card is something being revealed to you or illuminated. And I believe that when we do embrace a more optimistic outlook, we create more light. Well, we expand the light that already exists within ourselves and create and attract more light into our lives that help us see things that we didn't see before. So it could definitely be something, or maybe someone, that you could understand better through changing your perspective. This could even be about understanding yourself better. Let's go ahead and draw out one of these Ancestor Spirit Oracle cards. Yeah, talk about trusting that you feel called to connect with your intuition for a reason. We have the card Psychic Strength. It says Shield, Talismans, and Gold Light. This card can be a card of protection. Protect your energy, guard your light from being consumed by the darkness, overshadowed. You may have a specific talisman here, an object that makes you feel safer. I know some people like crystals, and some people like Hamza, some people like an evil eye. Some people don't even need or feel the need to have a physical object. You just protect yourself in the way that really feels right for you, especially psychically, psychologically, spiritually. So important, it really is, to protect your own light. I really, really like this because we have the sun here and gold light, and it's just really standing out to me, the idea to protect your light from darkness, especially your own darkness. You want your shadow and your higher self and your soul to be partners, not enemies fighting and competing for power. So how could, all these different sides of you work together in harmony? Is there a certain side of you that is judging another side of you more than it deserves? I do find it interesting how much we're talking about how many different sides there are in you. We all have a bunch of different sides of ourselves, but it feels like the main two sides that are standing out to me are your higher self and your shadow. For some reason I wanted to say your lower self, but wouldn't that also be your shadow? I don't know. I just feel like there could be the need here to have a healthier, more accepting, loving, and patient relationship with the side of you that's not okay, that has intense negative feelings. Let yourself feel those things, but don't let them consume you. It's okay to validate how you feel. In fact, I think it's important to validate how you feel so you can, really understand these feelings and what to do with them. Don't suppress, but also don't dwell. Someone here might need to find more of a balance that helps them have a healthier relationship with the darker side of themselves. I'm going to finish up this reading. Actually, I do want to put this card here, this other one we saw earlier. You make me feel invincible, earthquake, powerful. There could be a person in your life or something, maybe your faith or a passion or some sense of purpose, whatever it is. There's something here that does seem to make you feel very, very powerful, and I don't see this as a negative thing. Just be careful that, don't let your ego get caught up in it. The last card that I have is the Knight of Pentacles. It says, without efficiency, hard work, routine, careful, persistent work, effort, consistent, giving up is not an option. Yeah, the Knight of Pentacles is definitely a hard-working figure. And I feel that this could, really be why it's important to protect your light, so you don't lose the inspiration, the motivation that you need to stay committed to something that you care about. Your light does matter, but it's also okay that your darkness takes up space too. Just don't let it take too much, I saw the number 222 on the timer, which I find interesting because we started this reading talking about the number 222, and now we're about to end this reading talking about the number 222. And what's really standing out to me is the interpretation of finding, creating peace and balance. Definitely balance within yourself. Maybe you feel called to research the idea of yin and yang. Even in the darkness, there's a little bit of light, and even in the light, there can be a little bit of darkness. Remember that the number 2 is also confirmation of a significant relationship or situation in your life that has been on your mind throughout this reading. Pay attention to what your intuition is telling you, what's resonating, what's not resonating. And the other interpretation was your choices, and to prioritize what means the most to you. And it seems like working hard on something is what means the most to you, so you should be choosing to protect your life, your light, I guess maybe your life, your future, and your own psychic strength, or just your strength in general. Last message here, I saw the number 345 on the timer. Of course, not only are we going to end this with the number 222, but we're also going to end this with a message to really, truly, seriously trust that everything happens for a reason.